Does this hit Netflix show work as a de facto history course? We're here to find out. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 facts The Crown Season 2 got right and wrong. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at the historical accuracy in the events of the second season of The Crown. Warning, plenty of spoilers. Number 10, the Suez Crisis. Right.
We must attack. We have no alternative. We must attack swiftly and decisively.
Season 2 of The Crown kicks off with Elizabeth and the rest of England dealing with the Suez Crisis. England's Prime Minister was indeed Anthony Eden, and the war he began with Egypt did eventually contribute greatly to his downfall. The show portrays this piece of British history quite accurately, with obvious elaborations mostly in the conversations between characters. Elizabeth may have disagreed with Eden, but she had to stay neutral as was required by her royal position.
The Prime Minister always has the Sovereign's support.
Number 9, the Profumo Affair. Somewhat right.
I have nothing to hide, nothing to answer for.
The final episode of Season 2 touches on a particularly sordid event in British political history. The Profumo Affair, as it's frequently referred to, refers to the dalliance between British Secretary of State for War John Profumo and a young aspiring model named Christine Keeler.
Did you have relations with this man, John Profumo, Minister of War?
No comment.
The facts of the events shown on The Crown are true, but they heavily imply that Philip's involvement in the scandal was evident, even though it has never been officially confirmed.
That's the Minister of War. He's just admitted it. Profumo made it fair, but he denied the photograph. There's something of Philip in the shoulders.
Many believe that he did play a role in the events that took place, but with little evidence, it will likely never be proven. Number 8, Margaret and Anthony Armstrong Jones. Half right. For many, Princess Margaret is a fan favorite, and in Season 2 she embarks on a new romance, after her truncated attempt in the first season. While The Crown portrays Anthony Armstrong Jones as a stranger to Margaret, in fact he had photographed the royal family several times before they became romantically entangled.
Can't remember me either.
Not we've met.
We have.
In terms of Margaret questioning his sexuality, this is also based in fact. She stated in interviews that she suspected when they met that he enjoyed men as well as women.
And he would never dream of being anything as straightforward as simply queer. What on earth does that mean?
The show presents this as fact though, rather than hearsay. Number 7, the Parker divorce. Right-ish.
I'd like to separate from my husband. Better still, divorce.
Another significant relationship in The Crown's second season is that of Michael and Eileen Parker. It is true that Eileen filed for divorce from her husband, Philip's best friend and private secretary, and that infidelity was widely acknowledged to be the reason for the dissolution.
Duke's best friend and wife separate. Read all about it. Read all about it.
It's also true that the situation became so untenable that Parker was forced to resign.
I hereby offer my resignation as Principal Private Secretary to the Duke of Edinburgh, effective immediately.
The fabrications for the show were the letters from Lieutenant Commander Parker outlining Philip's dalliances, which were added, presumably, for dramatic effect.
Each of us, not a little bit, but a great deal, in love.
Number 6, the Billy Graham timeline. Wrong.
The Bible teaches that all of us are wrong. We have all gone astray, with everyone turned to his own way.
The part about Graham's evangelizing that the show altered wasn't that his visits took place, but rather the timeline of when they happened.
Close your ears to God's way. You will soon prefer your own ideas to the ideas of God.
Episode 6, where Graham appears, isn't given a specific date, but the previous episode is set in 1957, and the episode that follows is set in 1960. This would mean this episode takes place in either 1958 or 1959.
It means that you have a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ.
In truth, however, the Reverend Billy Graham only visited England in 1954, 1955, and 1961. Although wrong, this is a pretty minor change, as the rest of his depiction is largely accurate.
God himself forgives us all. Who are we to reject the example of God?
Mere mortals.
Number 5, Lord Altrincham. Mostly right.
She's our head of state, loved, respected, and admired throughout the world, so why do you hate her so very much?
In season 2 of The Crown, a writer named John Grigg, or Lord Altrincham, wrote a scathing piece criticizing Queen Elizabeth's public persona, appeared on television after it was published, and was then slapped in the face by an irate viewer.
Lord Altrincham? Yes?
All of this is actually true. On the show, Elizabeth meets with Lord Altrincham at Buckingham Palace, and ultimately tells him to never tell anyone they spoke.
Because I dare offer an opinion, I must be trying to burn the temple down. On the contrary, I'm trying to make sure it survives.
Well, those of us in the temple are very much looking forward to hearing what it is we must do in order to survive.
There's no confirmation that this particular meeting took place, but maybe he just kept it quiet like his queen told him to. Elizabeth did go on to make her first televised speech after these events.
Today is another landmark, because television has made it possible for many of you to see me in your homes on Christmas Day.
Number 4, Prince Charles and Gordonston School. Depends who you ask.
When I heard I was going to Gordonston, I felt exactly as you do now.
In the penultimate episode of The Crown's second season, we see a young Prince Charles being shipped off to a boarding school in remote Scotland called Gordonston School. The show makes his experience there seem quite miserable, enduring brutal educational tactics as well as bullying from his peers. Letters that Charles wrote home at the time confirm these struggles, saying about his dorm mates, "I don't know how anybody could be so foul."
Do you know what he calls the place? Hell on earth. Colditz with kilts.
I don't want to debate this.
Since the school's portrayal on The Crown, however, Gordonston School has responded that Charles has asserted in several speeches that his time there was formative, and made him the man he is today. Number 3, the Kennedys visit. Not exactly right. Shortly after John F. Kennedy was elected President of the United States, he and his wife Jackie did in fact visit Elizabeth and Philip at Buckingham Palace.
Good evening, Your Royal Majesty.
Oh, dear. Oh, for goodness sake.
Mr. President.
The drama that ensued between the two women, however, is mostly based on rumor and speculation. Jackie's comments about Elizabeth are essentially fabricated, though some sources do say that the sentiments portrayed had a basis in fact.
But in our head of state, we had a middle-aged woman, so incurious, unintelligent, and unremarkable.
Similarly, the Kennedys' drug use is based on rumor rather than actual evidence. Outwardly, there was no ill will, with the British court going into mourning when JFK was killed.
I'd like everyone in the royal household to observe a full week of court mourning. And I would like the bell rung at Westminster Abbey.
Number 2, Edward and the Nazis. It's complicated. In episode 6 of the second season, entitled Vergangenheit, meaning the past or history in German, one of the darker pieces of British royal history is revealed.
There was one file pertaining to Anglo-German relations, in particular the relationship of Nazi High Command with His Royal Highness the Duke of Windsor.
The Duke and Duchess of Windsor, formerly King Edward VIII and wife Wallis Simpson, had several encounters with Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party after Edward abdicated the throne. And it is true that the couple were proven Nazi sympathizers. But what remains murky is exactly how much they knew about what exactly it was they were supporting.
In these papers, you're quoted as saying that the Führer's desire for peace was in complete agreement with your own point of view.
Take this one as you will, because history doesn't give us any clear answers.
People forget. There was no indication of who Hitler would become.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
She was taken away, wasn't she? To an institution. And then your father promptly abandoned the family, ran off with his mistress?
I don't know what you've been reading or who you've been speaking to, but both my mother and my father played very active roles in all their children's lives.
How long do you need with him?
A day. Maybe 2. It's the last time, I promise.
Don't make promises you cannot keep.
Number 1, Philip's infidelity. It's complicated. The second season opens with Elizabeth's husband Prince Philip away on a months-long tour of the Commonwealth. This trip is accurately portrayed, but it's the details of his extramarital affairs that are based only in rumor. Though there has been talk over the years that Philip was unfaithful to Elizabeth, namely with actress Patricia Kirkwood, all parties involved have repeatedly denied the allegations. Though the Crown never actually shows Philip cheating on his wife, his behavior on the tour heavily implies that he was spending more time with the ladies than was appropriate.
The rumors still haven't gone away.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Ms. Mojo and subscribe for new videos every day.